In Tragedy, a true crime podcast, we discuss crimes that may be violent in nature. At times, we may cover homicides, missing people, and other topics that may be unsettling. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to episode 9. This is Tragedy, a true crime podcast. I'm Elisa.
I'm Michael.
In this interview, we learned more about Ian's promotion and life leading up to when he went missing in August of 2024 from his girlfriend, Kaylee Evans. And Kaylee, we're just really grateful that you are here with us and you are going to share your relationship with Ian. And so thank you so much for being here.
No, I appreciate what you guys are doing, for sure.
So we're just going to start off with just talk to us about your relationship with Ian and what you want people to know about him.
So we met about June of 2023. A couple months later, he moved in with me, and he was a great guy. He had a son of his own. He was going through something, I guess. But I have a daughter who's 5, and he was like the ideal dad, father figure, anybody that you want to meet, you're like, who am I meeting out there? No, he was perfect. He was very responsible, always wanting to be better, wanting to do better for his kid, for my daughter even. And shortly after we met, he moved in with my daughter and my parents. We lived in the camper out back. And like I said, he was there for her. He showed up where I didn't have that with my daughter or my daughter's father. Hard worker. Funny guy. Super funny. That's probably what got me, is that he was a super funny guy. He was good looking, obviously, but he was hilarious. He had a great sense of humor. He was mature, not like, I try to meet somebody online or whatever on Tinder, they're like just BSing you the whole time. He didn't. He was 100% the real deal. He was a great dude.
Thank you for sharing all that. We've heard lots of positive things about Ian, that he was funny and that he would sort of like take command of a room. So it sounds like, very similar to what you are experiencing.
Yeah, he was a drummer, and my brother's a drummer. I don't know if you know anything about musicians, but they're kind of own breed. And drummers especially, I think they are a little bit more passionate because they don't get to express except for beating on the drums. And unfortunately, I never got to see him play live. But he did show me many videos of him playing. And in this small county, I've talked to many people since this has happened that have known him and know, oh, yeah, Ian, a drummer, And like I said, my brother's a drummer. They talk drums all night. consistently, like multiple times. Um, I think that's just a deeper level of passion.
Um, Talk to us about the day that Ian disappeared.
So it was my birthday weekend, actually. My birthday was the 22nd. He went missing on the 26th, and his son's birthday was the next day, the 27th. Um, he and I had spent time together, and then I spent time with a family friend, and we went down to the Slough Bridge, and Ian took Aiden out up off to Tallahassee somewhere, did something with him. Um, but on the way home, apparently there was some riffraff. I don't know. He had said that he got stuck in a traffic stop, like not a DUI checkpoint, but like a traffic stop. And then that morning of the 26th, the day he went missing, he took me to work. I work at Rockies. I had to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning. And he took me up there, said goodbye. It wasn't the best of goodbyes, but nonetheless, he took me to work. Um, from what I know next, the best I can say is that my dad said he came home to our house. He sat in the driveway for an hour or two. I think his mom had mentioned he had been by her house to pick up some tools. And then from there, that was like the last he was ever seen, except his truck was seen pulling into Tom Brown Park.
Can you tell me about things were good things were happening with Ian's work? We understand he'd gotten a promotion.
He did about 4 or 5 days before all this happened. He and I had been trying to buy a car. Like, we've been driving my car. It was a Kia Sorento that was given to me by a family friend and had overheated and burnt out, and it wasn't working anymore. My dad would give Ian rides to work or to meet people, whatnot. And we were looking to buy another car. And I can remember I was at work one day and he called and said, "Oh, we don't have to worry about this. My boss just said, he's going to give me a promotion and pay for this truck, pay for the insurance, and, take it out of my check, make sure everything's accounted for or whatever." Um, and he didn't have it but 3 or 4 days before he went missing. But he had worked for the company. It was Spartan Exteriors. He had worked for them prior to meeting him.
And part of the reason that we are doing this podcast, actually, our main reason is to keep the exposure on this case, right? Both in the community and with law enforcement. So if you could just talk about those two things separately, what kind of support did you get from the community? What would you like to continue to see from the community? And then the same question for law enforcement.
The community itself, like I said, I work at Rockies. It's a gas station. It's like a Buc-ee's. but it's, smaller scale. It's not commercialized. Um, but my boss let me put out flyers um there at the store about him being missing, and there was a lot of response. Um as far as the police side, unfortunately, I guess because I'm not a family member, even though he was living at my house at the time of his disappearance, and I and my dad were one of the, and his mom, apparently, were the, three last people to see him alive. They took our statements. They had us come in. They had us, sit down and talk to them. But, and I clearly have nothing to hide, but nobody ever came out to my house. Nothing came out to the house. I don't know if they went out to Teresa's house. Um, I would have wished that there was a little bit more. There were a couple instances where I felt like they fell short. They're like, well, why do you want us to look into? I want you to look into this because that's your job. You're the police. You know, um, I'm not the police, but I feel like you should cover all bases. And I don't feel like all bases were covered. I don't know if when you talk to Miss Teresa, if she let you know about the North Florida diving company guy.
Don't recall that.
Okay, so there's a guy who came into Rockies a couple times, and he had a North Florida diving shirt on. I said, well, what do finally muster up enough courage. So what do you do? He said, well, we, like salvage their boats and clean them up and the undersides and everything. We do reclaims of lost objects. So what about lost bodies? I said, yeah, sometimes we do that. And I mentioned him about Ian's case, and he said, yeah, no, I already know about it. We've already been looking. And he's maybe somebody you might want to talk to. I don't know if he would. I would hope so. He's always been a really nice guy to me. Like I said, he comes into the store and he'll give me updates of, oh, I was able with my boat, my side scan and head scan to go and look on Munson. That's cleared. Talquin, that's cleared. Um, just because a lot of the chatter on Facebook, in my opinion, on my comments have been, well, if they can't find his truck, then like it's got to be somewhere in water. And I really have no clues. I have no theories. But I'm appreciative for him taking his time out to look for and do that. Munson and Talquin are big lakes.
Yeah, they are. One thing we'll do is, after we finish the interview, we'll touch base again, and we want to make sure we have his contact information so we can do that, reach out. But we don't.
I'd love to get you his guys, or you guys his stuff, because and I think he would be willing to talk to you because he was a super nice guy when he came in, and I brought it up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I've already." Like there was a little mini YouTube clip about Ian's case, and I brought that up to him. I said, "Do you even know anything about this?" He's like, "No, I do know these guys." You know, but it would be they're guys that have like a water drum. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're referring to the Depths of History guy, and we've watched his video, and he's
Okay.
one of the people we've reached out to as well.
Okay.
Let me ask a question. What do you think may have happened?
Honestly, I really don't know. The whole thing is so weird, and by his mom, Kelly, saying like, oh, he stopped back by the house and picked up tools. Like, I didn't know that he was needing any tools. He had just started that job back about like 3 months or 3 weeks. But he wasn't talking to me about, oh, I need this tool from my house or I need that tool from my house. I don't know why he would have been there.
You said also that he was in the driveway at your house, and your dad had indicated he'd been there. Did you say for an hour or two? Do you know why he just sat in the driveway?
No, I don't know why he was. My dad said after he took me to work that morning, supposedly, from what I know, he took me to work that morning. He went to his mom's house, talked to his brother, Daniel, who is now deceased, came back to my house and sat in the driveway for about an hour, came inside, took a shower, left for work. Talking to Miss Teresa after he left my house having a shower, he went back to her house and got the tools. I don't know.
That's interesting. That seems like a lot of back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It sure does.
And talk to me about the job. We understand it's a promotion. We understand that it meant more money, more opportunity. What was the new job?
So he had worked when I met Ian. He was working at the liquor store on 98 in Spring Creek. That's how I met him. Shortly after meeting him, though, he was like, "I'm gonna, you know, I need to find a new job. This isn't whatever." So he worked at St. Mark's Powder for maybe 6 months. And then something happened with that. I don't know. But he didn't have that job anymore. And he's like, oh, I'm going to try and get my job back with Spartan Exteriors. And that was the construction company. And he did. He got it. He worked there a couple of weeks and called me one day at work and was like, that's it. Don't worry about finding a car. My boss just offered me a truck with the insurance. He's going to take it out of my paycheck. Like, it's all going to be paid for. Don't worry. Because, I mean, I have a car, but it was old and overheating.
Yeah.
And so we shared it. But he's like, don't worry. Like, I got it figured out type thing. And it wasn't 4 days. He got the car on my birthday, the 22nd, because I remember being like, it's my birthday. Why aren't you home? And then 24th or 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th. That was the day he went missing, the 26th. And his son's birthday was the very next day. His son was turning 11, and he would never have missed Aiden's birthday. Never, ever, ever, ever.
I have a question about that day. When you were able to get back to your phone at the end of the day, had you received any text messages or phone calls or anything from him at all?
No. So, okay. And good, because I thought about this too. Like, he had told me at one point he had an alarm for like 2:15 because he knew I got off work at 2. Like 2:15, he'd give me a call if I hadn't called him yet. And most of the time, after 2, I'd give him a call. And that day I called him and he didn't answer. And my cat actually, so crazy enough, I had a cat. She had 4 kittens. Ian and I watched the 4 kittens be born. It was a magical moment. Like, for real. And 2 of them got given away. One got, I don't know, lost. But when I got home that day, one of the kittens was in a tree about 30 feet up in the air. And I kept trying to call him. I said, listen, I understand we didn't leave on the best terms this morning, but I would really appreciate you calling me because I don't know what to do about this cat. This kitten's up there. My 5-year-old daughter is crying. I don't know how to get the kitten out. Eventually the kitten came out, but he never came home.
Mm-hmm. Would he typically answer the phone when you called? I mean, I know he's working, but was he allowed to?
Most all the time, yeah. Most all the time, yeah.
Okay.
He would.
So that was unusual.
When you called him, was the phone going direct to voicemail or was it ringing?
It rang, but he didn't answer. And so that like made me more worried.
Yeah.
Because I was like, no, you would answer. He did. He would answer for me. But he didn't. And so about maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock, I knew something was really wrong. That like something was really, really wrong. I think maybe I even called his mom, or his mom called me that night, maybe around 7, to say, have you heard from him? I said, no, I haven't heard from him. And like I said, his son's birthday was the next day, and he wouldn't have, he wouldn't have missed Aiden's birthday for anything.
Is there anything that you wanted to share that maybe we didn't think to ask yet?
I don't know. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. I really do. Like I think I told a listener the other night in a text, I'm a little true crime junkie myself, but I never in a million years would have thought that I'd be here. And I really appreciate what you guys are doing because I don't think the sheriff's office is taking it so seriously. I don't know. Anytime I call them and ask them, they're like, well, you're not family. We can't talk to you. So I don't know what they're doing. But I appreciate, and I've tried to get WCTV interviews. Those fell through. So I appreciate you guys taking your time out to do this.
Ian Rogers was last seen in Crawfordville, Florida, the morning of August 26, 2024. At the time, he was wearing a black hat, sunglasses, a blue long-sleeve dry-fit shirt, a white undershirt, tan cargo shorts, and brown work boots. Ian has a half tattoo on his right forearm, which consists of 2 gorillas and a salt shaker, a tribal tattoo on his left calf, and a scroll tattoo with the word mom on his right calf. He was driving a white 2019 Dodge Ram truck, Florida license plate RSKU57. The truck is also missing. Ian told family, friends, and work colleagues he was on his way to work, but he never made it. If you have any information, please call the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office at 850-745-7100, or you can email us at tragedyaTrueCrimePodcast@gmail.com. Please join the Operation Bring Ian Rogers Home Facebook page to support Ian's family.